All right, my MTG brothers and sisters, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we have a whole bunch of cards to go over today, so let's go ahead and try to go through them as quickly as we can. Basically, I'm just going to go ahead and explain some more terms, mechanics, and just a little bit go further into the cards of Magic the Gathering. Let's go ahead right here with this card called the Anointed Chorister. The reason why I wanted to go over it is because of, well, we're going to go over the lifelink. As you can see right here, up on the top right of the card, right here it says lifelink. Damage dealt by a creature, planeswalker, or spell with lifelink also causes its controller to gain that much life. Yeah, so if you notice this 4+ or this 4 in white over here under the lifelink, Anointed Chorister gets +3/+3 until end of turn. That is called an activated ability. You get to, it's called an activated ability because you have to pay to activate it. So, and those can be done at any time that instance can be played. So that is the timing on activated abilities. They can be done at instant speed. All right, let's go on to the next one. We have Giant Killer. This is called an adventure mechanic. The adventure right there, you may cast this card as an adventure. After you do, exile it. You may then cast the creature later from exile. So adventure means you cast it for its instant or sorcery spell right here. See how it says chop down? It's a 2 plus a white. And it's an instant, so it's instant speed. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So then once you cast it for its instant speed, it'll go into exile, and then you will be able to cast it for its creature cost at the 1 white right there. Okay, so that is the adventure mechanic. And then also right here, this is another activated ability that the Giant Killer has. It's 1+ white, and then you tap the Giant Killer to tap another target creature. Normally, you would like to do something like that to one of your opponent's creatures. And what you would, the timing on that is you would want to use this ability before the player switches to combat phase, before you give the opponent's creatures a chance to attack, because then once you tap that creature, it's not going to be able to attack. If it attacks and then you tap it, it's not really going to do much. It's just going to continue to attack. So let's go on to the next one. Practice tactics. Okay, this is the party mechanic. Your party consists of up to 1 each of cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizards. So that's the type of creature that it is. There are some cards that are like, elf clerics, elf rogues, zombie warriors, giant wizards, stuff like that. So you want to really pay attention to, let's see, like right here. Like this card, the Archpriest of Iona, it's a human cleric, so that would be part of the party. Okay, and it is only 1, so if you have multiples of each one, it doesn't count for 2, but your party is 1 of each of those creatures. Okay, so that is how you would have a full party. All right, this is another activated ability right here, just another example. This one, it doesn't have to pay for it, but you do get to tap and gain 1 life. So, and now remember, this one would have to go through Summoning Sickness to be able to tap it, unless the creature does have haste, which I'm pretty sure we'll go over haste here in a minute. Okay, now this is another mechanic that was just introduced in the Kaldheim set. It's called Boast. Boasting, you get to activate this ability only if this creature attacked this turn and only once each turn. So, basically, create a white, you boast, you attack with this creature, and then you are able to activate its ability. You can activate it right away before they choose their blockers. You have an opportunity to respond before, like after you choose your attackers, you have an opportunity to respond before they choose their blockers. So if you needed to do something real quick, if you had an instant spell in your hand, you would be able to cast it before they choose that. If you wanted if you chose your blockers, you had a destroy creature card, and you wanted to destroy a creature before it had the opportunity to block, because once they block, if you destroy the creature that's blocking, your creature still the damage does not go through to the player, because that creature still blocks and then gets destroyed or something like that. It's weird. But it's the same thing that if you were to block with a creature and then tap its ability before damage, the damage won't go through, but your ability will activate. But your creature will still die if it's not. It will still take the damage from the attacking creature that it blocked. So you do have opportunities to do that. So yeah, Boast. And that is a new mechanic. Where was I? Wasn't? Nope, that's the one I just did. All right. All right, this one is an enchantment aura. As you see right here, most enchantments, it says right here, enchant creature. I don't know if you can see my little dot from my pin. There's that right here on the right. So it's going to go right here, enchanted creature. So this can be attached to a creature. So as you can see, enchanted creature gets +1/+1. When enchanted creature leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So these are creature tokens. There's many kinds out there, especially if you're playing tabletop. If you are playing a deck that does create tokens, you're going to want to make sure you have the tokens in there. This game will automatically do it for you. A token creature is just like this. It's a spirit, or it's not always a spirit, but it is whatever the card says it is. So this one is a 1/1 creature with flying. Now flying, a creature with flying can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. So if a creature doesn't have reach or flying, you can just fly over them and hit their controllers, and yeah, they won't be able to block it. But that is the creature token. Tokens can be tokens when they are destroyed, or if they leave the battlefield in any way. They do not come back to the battlefield. So if you do have something that does return a card to, or return a creature to the owner's hand, let's say that they have a 20/20 spirit creature with flying, and only thing you have in your hand is a return creature spell to its owner's hand. So what you would do is you would target that creature. That creature will go to his hand, but since it's a token creature, it will not go to his hand. He will not be able to play it again, and it is destroyed. So that's kind of a little way around big things like that, or token creatures that you can't really get over or really get past. So let's see, going to the next one. All right, so this one again has flying. Okay, now this one, when Merfolk Windrobber enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a card. So milling is returning, or to mill a card, a player must put the top card of their library into their graveyard. So that is milling. There are some cards, mill 4 cards, mill 3 cards, mill 2 cards, so on and so forth. So there's actually a card in here that will make a player mill half their deck. So it gets pretty crazy with these mill. Blue is known for mill, stuff like that. Milling encounters and stuff. Let me see here. That's about it. Here's another conditioned activated ability. You can sacrifice them to draw a card, but you may only activate that ability if the opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Let me see here. Wall of Ruins. This one has what is called Defender. A creature with Defender cannot attack. It can only block. There are some cards out there that do allow creatures to attack as if it did not have Defender. That is one. And there's a term, here's another term that we've gone over before, but we will go over it again. It's called scry. You look at the top card of your library, you may put that card on the bottom of your library. So pay attention to the wording, to how it says you may put that card on the bottom of your library. That means that you may do that. You have the opportunity. If it tells you that you put that card on the bottom of the library, you put that card on the bottom of the library. So the wording is very specific in Magic the Gathering, and I can't really go over that enough. Yeah, you may put that card on the bottom of your library. You may keep it on the top of your library. Some cards allow you to scry and then draw, so that's pretty cool, because if it's a scry 2 and draw, you get to scry. If you like one of those cards more than the other, you get to put that card on top and then draw it. So it's pretty cool. Get some cool stuff going on there. Let me see here. This is another tapped ability. I think that's just what I wanted to go over. Activated ability with the tapping. Here's another mechanic called Kicker. So basically right here, it's mana cost. Right here, it's CMC, converted mana cost, is 1 plus white. And then right here, this Kicker, it's 1 plus white. So if you had enough, okay, so you may pay an additional cost as you cast this spell. That's what a Kicker is. So basically, you will pay 2 plus 2 white to kick this card, and then you will get its kicked ability. So if you don't have the mana, you'll only get the original the original ability. So creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, those creatures get +2/+1 until the end of turn instead. So that's your basic Kicker. Sometimes there are multi-kickers. I haven't seen that one used in a while. There are some older mechanics that I would like to go in, especially if you're going to start playing Commander. But these are definitely the ones that are being used in Standard right now. But the multi-kicker basically is you pay the cost, and then you pay the multi-kicker cost as many times as you want. And then it happens that many times. So if you have the mana, that's what you can do. The Kicker can only be can be played once. A multi-kicker can be kicked more than once. Okay. All right, here's another mechanic, Landfall. So this ability triggers when a land enters the battlefield under your control. Anytime a land enters the battlefield. So it's not one or more. There are cards that say when one or more happens. This one, when a land enters the battlefield under your control. So anytime a land enters the battlefield. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Fearless Fledging, and it gains flying until the end of the turn. So that's something you definitely want to do before attacking. Alright, so that is the Landfall. Landfall is actually my favorite mechanic out of all of them. I've made some pretty cool Landfall decks. Alright, here's another term, Double Strike. This creature deals both first strike and regular combat damage. Does not apply when creatures fight. Oh, I never knew that. I never knew that. See, we are learning together, guys. Look at this. Okay, Double Strike. So basically in the combat phase, there's choosing attacking, choosing attackers, choosing blockers, then first strike damage, regular damage, and then it moves steps. So basically the first strike damage only appears if there is first strike on the battlefield. So if a creature has first strike and it goes to attack, it will have its first strike damage, and then the regular combat damage would hit. Double Strike hits on that first strike damage and on the regular. So if this 1/1, let's say that he was a 4/4 instead of a 1/1, and he was being blocked by a 2/2 creature, he would then hit the first strike damage. He kills the creature, and since that creature did not have enough toughness to survive, he will go through and hit the controller. So he will hit your opponent. Okay, so that is what Double Strike is. Let me see here. I know sometimes these things can be a little bit confusing, but definitely if you do go to the like your local game store or anything like that and you're playing on tabletops, those guys know what they're talking about too. So any questions that you do have, they will be glad to answer that. Try to explain things if you run into situations that maybe I didn't go over or you haven't heard online or anything like that. Yeah, they're definitely pretty knowledgeable. So let's see here. Fencing Aids, just went over that one. So Flicker of Fate. This is an instant spell. Exile target creature or enchantment, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is called Blinking. It's basically you remove the creature from the game, or the object, whatever it does, a creature or enchantment. You remove it from the game, and then you bring it back onto the battlefield under your control. It's a nice little move. So like this one, like if you have a really big creature that's gonna make you win the next turn, and they cast a destroy target creature spell, boom, you can cast Flicker of Fate because you have the mana, and you get to exile that creature, return it to the battlefield, because how that is when their spell responds, or I'm sorry, when their spell resolves, your creature will not be on the battlefield. Their spell will dissolve into their graveyard, and that effect will not happen, and then your creature comes back to the battlefield safe. I actually built a pretty cool Flicker deck, commander, that has a bunch of like infinite combos and everything like that. So that is Blinking. Another thing that you would want to do with Blinking stuff or Flickering stuff is you would like you want cards with enter the battlefield effects. So when this creature enters the battlefield, that actually, that's perfect too. That is called a triggered ability. When something says whenever, it's whenever, and there was something else. Gosh, you suck at this, Jesse. But it's an triggered ability. It's whenever, or at. Yeah, so like at the beginning of your end step, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, or when this creature does combat damage. So stuff like that. Those are triggered abilities because an action is causing that ability to be triggered. So that is why it is called a triggered ability. There are stuff that does say triggered abilities. So once again, wording. Make sure that you're reading the cards. Make sure that you're understanding them. And I am here to hopefully help you guys understand them. All right, let's go to this card, the Glass Casket. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or less until Glass Casket leaves the battlefield. So this is a cool little trap card. I think that's why I wanted to go over it. It is an artifact, so it stays on the battlefield. Let me see here. But I think basically, so if there's a creature out there, I think I just wanted to show you guys like the different cards. Some of you guys that are new that are watching this, when it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls. So basically, it enters the battlefield, you choose a target creature card. It does have to cost 3 or less. So the CMC, the mana cost up there needs to be 3 or less. And then you can take that creature from them until they destroy this artifact, which sometimes artifacts are very hard to get rid of. And that's another thing that I think I kind of forgot to go over with Disenchantment Aura. Auras, they attach to the creature, like I said, but once that creature is destroyed, this goes into the graveyard. It's not like an artifact. It's just an enchantment. You're enchanting somebody. You know, like you're enhancing them. But you know, think of it that way. You know, it's an enchantment. So it goes to the graveyard. Okay. Now this is another enchantment aura. It's an enchant creature, but this is the type of enchantment aura that you would like to cast on your opponent's creatures, because this one allows the enchanted creature, it cannot attack or block. So you have your 2020 out there, or you're going against the 2020 creature, you get this card, boom, he's no longer a threat. Yeah, and there we go. There are also some other trap cards like these in other colors, of course, or something like that. There are cards, more cards out there that actually take away the creature's abilities too. So if they have any activated abilities or triggered abilities, they can't activate those abilities. It's really cool. This right here is called an enchantment saga. So as you see right here on the top left, right over here, it says, as the saga enters and after your draw step, add a lore counter, and then you sacrifice after 3. So basically, when the card comes into the battlefield, you get the first lore counter, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. You go through your turn, you pass your turn, your opponent goes through their turn, pass it back to you, you do your upkeep, and then you draw, and then you get the second lore counter. So then you create a 0/4 colorless wall artifact creature with defender. So, and so on and so forth. So then the third one, you gain 2 life, and then you sacrifice the card. Okay, another thing I wanted to go over about tokens real quick is that if you guys remember the legendary rule, how you can't have 2 legendary creatures down on the battlefield at the same time with the same name. So if you have a card that creates a token copy of a creature you have, make sure it's not a legendary creature, because you will have to decide which one stays on the battlefield. I mean, if it has a really cool enter the battlefield effect, I can see that. But yeah, you just want to be careful when you're doing stuff like that. I wanted to show you guys a couple counter spells too. So this one is, counter target creature spell or planeswalker spell unless it's going to replace 2. So yeah, it's a great... All right, now this card I just wanted to show you guys just a couple counter spells. So there's this one, and Anticognition, which is a 2-pay. It's a counter target creature or planeswalker spell. So as you see, you can only counter those types of spells. There are counter spells that just counter target spell. So target means target. You get to target the thing that this takes effect on. Okay. So yeah, unless its controller plays 2. So if the spell's controller had 2 mana, he would be able to pay that and keep his spell, and it won't be countered and thrown into the graveyard. But if he did pay the 2, sometimes that's not that really big of a deal, because if he was to pay the 2 and keep his creature, you still slowed him down a little bit by taking 2 of his mana away from him. So if he had another spell that maybe would have even helped enhance that spell he just played, it would have held him back a little turn, which would have given you a turn to kind of make up for it or try to retaliate. Kind of get ready for it. Okay, so here we have Jeskai Elder. It has prowess. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So prowess is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Okay, so it's not counters, it's just until the end of turn. So a non-creature spell is exactly what it says, non-creature. So any types of enchantments, artifacts, sorceries, or instants will get that activated. So see, that is also a triggered ability whenever whenever you cast a non-creature spell. So if you're playing an instance, a deck with a whole bunch of instants or sorceries in it, you would want to play as many as you can um, until combat, so that you can get this creature, um, as much damage as you can until combat. This is another activated ability. Now there's cards like this that these are called, people call them mana dorks, because they help you with mana. They usually tap for mana, but this one only allows you to spend to foretell a card from your hand or cast an instant or sorcery spell. So you can only use that blue mana for those three things. Foretell is a new mechanic that was introduced in Kaldheim. And basically what that allows you to do is to pay 2 colorless mana to exile that card, but you get to play that card from exile on a later turn. So I don't think you can use it on that same turn, so it would have to be used on your opponent's turn or your next turn. And the timing rules do apply to the card that was foretold. So if it's an instant, you can use it at instant speed. Sorcery, you can only use it at sorcery speed, and so on and so forth. This is another counter spell. This one is called Negate. It just counters target non-creature spell. So any type of enchantments, sorceries, instants, artifacts, except artifact creatures or enchantment creatures, because they are creatures, so you can't counter those. But if you have counter target enchantment spell, it will work with I'm pretty sure that will work if you have a counter target artifact or counter target enchantment spell, which I think they did come out with a card like that in this recent set, in the Kaldheim set, that does do that. So if you have an artifact creature or an enchantment creature, I'm pretty sure that you counter those with that spell, because they are artifacts and they are enchantments. So yeah, you can still do that with the creatures, but because this one says non-creature, that's the difference. All right, here's another mechanic called cycling. Basically, on the bottom here, it says cycling with the 1 any color mana. So when it's cycling, you may do this at instant speed at any time you have priority. So you may pay the cycling cost to discard this card and draw a card. That's pretty simple. So if you find that you're in a situation that you're not gonna use this spell, but you need a new card, you need to draw. Excuse me. You can go ahead and cycle that card. I personally believe that the best time to use it in like stuff like this, when you're drawing at instant speed, it's best to do it at the end of your opponent's turn, so that you can get that draw right before you draw again. So basically you're getting 2 cards. If you don't have it, if you only have the mana to pay your cycling, then just wait till the player's turn, end turn, just right before you, because it's not really going to help you out, but it'll help you out on your next turn. Here's an enchantment creature. So here's another activated ability, or triggered ability. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent. So just if you're casting at instant speed, or if you're casting an instant on your opponent's turn, whenever you do that on your first time, you get to tap or untap a target non-land permanent. So that is either a it's either a permanent that your opponent controls or that you control. There are cards that say that you control or your opponent controls. Like I said, wording matters. You may tap or untap target non-land permanent. So any target permanent. All right, here's another mill. See, like I said, target player mills 4 cards. This one has the escape mechanic, which I believe was Theros Beyond Death that this came about. So basically, the escape cost is you may the escape is you may cast this card from your graveyard for its escape cost. Now, its escape cost is 4 mana, plus you have to exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. So you'll be able to play this kid. So you can do that as many times as you want, as long as you have the 4 other cards from your graveyard to exile. And you can't exile this card. That's why it says 4 other cards. All right, Grasp of Darkness. It's a instant speed, or it's an instant spell. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. So the reason why I brought this card up is I wanted to go over Indestructible real quick. Indestructible, there are only 2 ways that you can get rid of Indestructible, is to exile them, or if you are to bring their toughness down past 0. And giving them negative counters, or just giving them negatives until the end of turn, or putting a negative effect on them is the only way to kill them if that have destructible, or that have indestructible. So if, let's say that a creature is a 4/4 indestructible, you cast this card on him, he gets -4/-4, he has 0 toughness, 0 power, the creature dies. That's the only way you can get rid of indestructible. The only 2 ways: exiling and making them negative. Alright, so here's another one. Mill Priest of Oblivion. It has Menace. That's the term we're going to go over right now. So a creature with Menace can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So if you have this guy down and your opponent only has 1 creature out, you can fearlessly attack because they won't be able to block because they only have 1 creature. So yeah, they can only be blocked by 2 or more. Basically with that. So Menace. Only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Alright, here's another triggered ability real quick. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, this creature gets +1/+0 and gains double strike until the end of turn. So non-combat damage would be any type of damage spells or any type of spell that you cast that does damage. So anything outside of combat damage. It could be from a planeswalker or something like that. Yeah, planeswalker, or just do 3 damage to a creature or player. Oh, wait, this one would have to be done. It would have to be done to the opponent. So yeah, if you have a spell that does 3 damage to any target, you target the player, and then you will get that ability. Conspicuous Snoop. This one I wanted to show because this card allows you to play with the top card of your library revealed. So that means you flip over your card, it is revealed for all. It's nice because you get to see what's on the top of your library, but you may also cast goblin spells from the top of your library, and as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, Conspicuous Snoop has all activated abilities of that card. So, like I said, activated abilities, any type of ability that you pay and tap for, those are activated abilities. It doesn't say anything about mana abilities, because there are things here that, like I said with those with those locking cards that take away abilities or don't allow the creature to block or attack. Some of them do say unless they are mana abilities. So, like if you were to tap a creature and for mana, or tap an artifact for mana, those are mana abilities. So you can still activate those mana abilities. You just can't activate any other like special abilities. All right, Seven Dwarves. I think I wanted to show you this one because this is the only card that I've ever seen that allows more than 4 cards of the same type in one deck. So 7 dwarves, it gets 1/1 for each other creature named 7 dwarves you control, and a deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 dwarves. So this actually also applies in Commander. From what I understand, because I've seen, at least in the Brawl on MTG Arena, that you can have 7 of those in a Commander deck when you're only allowed to have 1. But because this card says a deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 dwarves, you can do that. Heroic Intervention. This is actually probably one of my favorite cards. This gives all your permanents you control hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. So if somebody's about to throw a board wipe at you, destroy all of your creatures, you cast this card. They have hexproof, meaning they cannot be targeted for the rest of the turn, and they're indestructible. They cannot be destroyed unless exiled or brought down to 0 toughness. It's another buff card, which is another type of instant, kind of something that green does. Target creature gets +4 and +4, or target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. So just another look into some instance. Okay, so this is protection. So protection from this permanent can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, enchanted, or equipped by anything with either an odd or even converted mana cost. So that is this creature's ability. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to choose odd or even, and it has protection from each mana cost from that. So if there's if they have a destroy card in their hand that destroys target creature or anything like that, if it has an odd, 1, 3, 5, 7, it cannot target this spell. It has to target something else. There's also color protection, which cards that give your creature, or it gives your permanent a protection from a specific color. You can choose the color. That also applies for multicolors too. So if there's a 5-colored spell that's being thrown at your creature, any one of those colors, if it has any of, if you say protection from red, that card has red in it, it cannot it cannot do any of those things. So if it's multicolored and it has the color that you chose, it does apply. Just put an instant from each color in here just to kind of show you what they're more around. So the blue was like counters, green was like, making them stronger. Black is for like death, so destroy target creature. Here's a sorcery spell that allows you to choose what effect happens. You could either choose to destroy target artifact, or you can choose that creatures without flying can't block this turn. So if anybody has all of their creatures are ground creatures, they can't attack flying, or they're all ground creatures, they don't have flying, they can't block at all. So even if they had reach, they can't attack your creatures with flying. But because they don't have flying, they can't block. Boom. All right, here's another one with a really cool ability. This one allows you to play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. So you get the 1 land drop per turn. So this allows you to play 3 lands per turn. It's a nice little land ramp or a mana ramp to help you get to where you need faster. It's definitely good in a lot of landfall decks because you're going to want to be able to drop a lot of lands. There are other cards out there that allow you to play an additional land. So if you have both of those on the field, you would be able to put 4. Pretty crazy. All right, here's another mechanic called Constellation. So Constellation, this ability triggers when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. Any type of enchantment, enchantment auras, enchantment creatures, or just regular enchantments. As long as they're enchantments, you get to create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying. There's another thing right here too. This is a kind of it's a kind of a lord. Lords mostly give buffs to your creatures, like other elves you control get +1/+1. And this one has Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink. So any Pegasus that you own or that you control on the battlefield does have lifelink, which damage dealt by a creature, planeswalker, or spell with lifelink also causes its controller to gain that much life. This is another thing that was introduced with Throne of Eldraine. It's called food. It's a food token. So basically, the food token is just you pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it, and you gain 3 life. I haven't really done too much with food. But as you can see, when this creature dies or you discard it, you create a food token. So if in effect forces you to discard a card, you discard this card, you get a food token. If it's on the battlefield, you chump block it. Chump blocking is a term that people use just when you're just going to use a weaker creature to take out or just to block damage. Now see, this is another aura, but this one is different. It does say enchant permanent, so you can enchant any permanent. Faith's Fetters enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life, and then enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. So that's what I was saying earlier about the mana abilities and cards like this, that its activated abilities can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. Let's move on. Here's a card with an alternate casting cost. So as you see, it's a 4 CMC, but you may pay 1 colorless, 1 white, and exile a creature card from your graveyard rather than pay this spell's cost. So instead of paying that 4 mana, you're paying 2 and you're exiling a creature. You're removing a creature from your graveyard from the game instead of paying the cost. So it's cheaper, but it comes with a higher price. Unless if you have a creature in your graveyard that you can't get out, because there are cards that you can return from the graveyard, but it's a creature card that you don't mind not having for the rest of the game. Go ahead and do it. You get this guy out pretty much faster. All right, here's the Foretell that I mentioned earlier. So right down here, Foretell. That is the casting cost of the Foretell. Once it's in Foretell, the Foretell is always 2 of any color to send it into Foretell. So you pay the 2, you exile it, and then you can cast it for these spells. Now these X costs right here, basically, this is a double X. Most of the time when you see an X like that, X is any amount that you can pay for or would like to pay for to cost that spell. A double X, meaning a double X like this, means you must pay X twice. So if I foretold this and then I went on the next time I was able to cast this spell, I went to play it. If I wanted to create two 4/4 angel warrior creature tokens with flying and vigilance, remember, vigilance does not cause the creature to tap for attacking. So basically, if I wanted to create 4 of those creatures, I would have to pay, or if I wanted 2 of them, I would have to pay 4 mana. So I would have to pay 2 mana. I would have to pay 5 mana because I would have to pay the white, and then I would have to pay 2 mana and then 2 more mana to get the 2 creatures. So I'm paying 5 mana for 2 creatures. That's what the double X means, is that you have to pay X twice. You can't pay more for the second X. You have to pay the exact price. So yeah, if you want 1, you pay 2. You want 2, you pay 4. You want 4, you pay 8. So on and so forth. All right, now this is a mechanic that was introduced in Ikoria, which is called Mutate. So you can either cast it for its CMC cost or its Mutate cost. You don't have to pay both. It's not like the kicker. But the mutating is a special action and cannot be countered. Now keep that in mind. If you're going against mutate decks, you cannot counter those spells if they are mutating. But what you can do is you can take the priority before the mutate resolves onto the creature that they are mutating to, and you can destroy the creature that they are mutating to, and then that will not mutate. Because if you cast a spell for its mutate cost, put it under or over target non-human creature you own, they mutate into the creature on top plus all the abilities from under it. So if we were to put this on top of it, remember it has to be a non-human. So let's say that we mutate that Vulpikeet onto this Transcendent Envoy. I can choose whether to put it on top or below. So if I put it underneath, this is going to be the top card. This is going to be the identity of that card too. It is going to be a Griffin with 2 CMC. It's an enchantment creature. Okay? So, but it will also have, whenever this creature mutates, put a 1/1 counter on it. But it also has, since both of them have flying, it has flying. But if this creature did not have flying, it would gain flying. So it gains everything that is on the bottom here, right here, other than the toughness and power. Yeah, so that's mutate. Goes above or below. It's going to have the characteristics of the card on top, but it's going to have basically all of the text abilities underneath. Yeah, it's going to have all of the text underneath. So if it was attached to this, it would allow for your aura spells to cost 1 less to cast, and whenever it mutates. All right, this creature type is this creature type is a shapeshifter, but it has changeling. Changeling is the term. This creature is every creature type. So any type of spell that affects a specific creature type, this card is affected by it, whether it's a buff, destroy, or anything like that. That will be applied to this because it is every creature type. This is another type of Lord, but this one gives other creatures -1, -1. So this card will actually, if you have a bunch of, if you're going against this guy and you have a bunch of 1/1 fast creatures, don't even put them down on the battlefield. If this guy's out, because they will die immediately, because a creature cannot be on the battlefield if it has 0 toughness. So if you get a 1/1 creature in there, he hits the battlefield, he goes instantly to the graveyard because he has no toughness. So just watch out for that. All right, this one has reach. Reach, a creature with reach can block creatures with flying. So there's reach, being able to block flying. There's another Lord. This one, see, other elves you control get +1/+1, and this one has the ability to tap to add 3 forest mana to your mana pool. All right, here we have a spell that has multicolors in its identity. It has red and green, so this is both a red and green creature. Now, what these up here mean, the CMC, how it says, it's red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. It's not, one of each. So it's not 8 mana to pay. It's either or. You can pay either or of that to play. So if you had 1 red land and 3 greens, you would still be able to play this. Or if you had all red, you can play it. If you had all green, you can play it. It's just either or to pay it. This one has haste. So a creature with haste can attack and tap as soon as it comes in under your control. I guess those are called somewhat of evasive abilities. It's just evasion. A lot of people aren't going to necessarily attack or something like that if you have lifelink or death touch or something like that. It's a menace, just evasive maneuvers to help you bide some time, get to where you really need to be. All right, this is a god. Gods of Theros, definitely. I think a lot of them. I think the Gods of Theros are the only ones that have indestructible right now. But these cards are pretty crazy. It's an indestructible enchantment creature. It's 7/6, so it's pretty powerful. But as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Purphoros isn't a creature. So what that means is your devotion to red is each spell that you control on the battlefield with the fire symbol. So each fire in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to red. So if it's a 2 red spell, then that counts towards your devotion. It's as 2. If it's 1 like this one, 1 and 4, this is only 1 towards your devotion. Let's see. Actually, this last one that we went over, this would be perfect. So this would be 4 devotion towards red if you had this on the battlefield. So actually, if you had this on the battlefield and then you drop the Purphoros, then it would immediately become a creature because even the devotion in this card counts as the devotion. So this would become a creature. But once you have less, it goes back to an enchantment. So you cast it as an enchantment, and then once you have more than 5 or 5 or more devotion to the color, then it becomes a creature. And it is indestructible. So it's very, very, very hard to get rid of. And then it also has other static abilities, which, like this one, static meaning it's always around. It's not activated, it's not triggered, it's just always there. Because right here, just other creatures you control have haste. It's kind of like the lording effect, like other creatures get 1/1. Or other, like the other one, the other elves get 1/1. So it's a lord like that. And then you have the activated ability. You may put a red creature card or an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So yeah, there's your gods. And these are your multicolored cards. It has 2 colors in its CMC. So anything that affects blue or white affects this card. Well, this one's an instant, but you would need 1 blue, 1 white, and 4 of any color to pay for this card. All right, here's a double-sided, which was introduced in Zendikar Rising. They have these cards have 2 sides to them. This one is a sorcery and a land. You can pay its mana cost up here to cast this card. It has the X in it, just a single X, so it's just however many you need to pay. So return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted cost of X or less. Or of X or less. So if you had, let's say, 3 creature cards in there, one with 1 CMC, one with 3 CMC, and then one with 4 CMC, you can pay 4 as the X cost, and then you will return all of those cards that have different mana, that have different CMC. So you can return all those creatures back. So with the double-sided, once you decide to play this spell, you will be able to choose whether to put it down as the land or to play it as the sorcery. And it will always go into the graveyard on its face side, on the one side, as you see right up here on the top left. That's 1. This is the second side. So it always goes to the graveyard in the first. If it does come out of the graveyard to the battlefield, you will be able to choose again. Which I don't think you'll be able to take sorceries to the battlefield, because sorceries don't usually stay, but if it was another type of card, like maybe a creature card or something that does have the double-sided, you would be able to do that. Or if you're like doing something that you can just bring a card to the battlefield and it has a double side, you get to choose the side. Alright, and that's going to be it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you guys learned some things. I hope I explained everything to your understanding. But yeah, this is Dark Tutor signing off. Remember to be kind always. It's a crazy world out there. Lead by example, guys. Bye-bye.